The two suns of Vareth 7 had gone down many hours ago. The cold was getting worse with every passing minute. It was the kind of cold that could kill a person if they stayed outside too long. Daniel Carter walked through the narrow paths between market stalls. He pulled his thick jacket closer to his body. His breath came out in white clouds that disappeared into the dark air. The market was full of aliens from many different worlds. Most of them were refugees who had lost their homes to war. They came here because they had nowhere else to go. Humans were not common in this part of space. It was too far from the safe zones where most humans lived. It was too close to the war that had destroyed so many planets and killed so many people. But Daniel was not here as a soldier or a government worker. He was here as a father. His daughter Lily was sick. She was only 9 years old, and she had a fever that would not go away. The medicine they had brought from home was not working. A local shopkeeper had told Daniel about this market. He said that traders sometimes sold medicine that worked for humans. Medicine taken from old ships that had crashed or been left behind. Daniel needed to find that medicine. Lily was getting worse every hour. He could not wait any longer. The market was a sad place. The stalls were made from old metal sheets and plastic tarps. Everything looked broken and used. The people selling things looked tired and hungry. They came from many different species. Some had 4 arms. Some had blue skin. Some had no faces at all. But they all had the same look in their eyes. It was the look of people who had lost everything. Daniel kept walking. He was looking for the section where the Draconith traders set up their stalls. The Draconith were a very old species. They looked like dragons from human stories. They had scales and wings and tails. They could breathe fire when they were healthy and strong. Long ago, they had a great civilization on their home planet. But that was before the war. Before the hegemony came. The hegemony was a group of powerful alien species that wanted to control everything. They did not like planets that refused to obey them. When the Draconith refused, the hegemony attacked. They bombed the planet from space. They burned everything. In just a few hours, a whole world turned to ash and melted rock. Billions of Draconith died. The ones who survived had to run away and scatter across the galaxy. Now they were refugees, just like everyone else in this market. Daniel found the Draconith section by following the faint orange glow of heat lamps. The Draconith needed warmth to survive. Their bodies had a kind of fire inside them that kept them alive. But that fire needed fuel. They needed food and warmth and shelter. Without those things, their inner fire would go out, and they would die. Most of the Draconith stalls were closed. The heat lamps were old and weak. They kept flickering on and off. The traders had probably gone somewhere warmer for the night. But one stall was still open. A young Draconith female sat behind a small table. On the table were a few items for sale. Some old tools. Some pieces of cloth. Nothing valuable. The girl herself looked young. By human standards, she seemed like a teenager. Maybe 13 or 14 years old. Her scales should have been bright and shiny, full of the warm glow that healthy Draconith had. But her scales were dull and gray. They looked like dead leaves in autumn. Small pieces of ice had formed on the tiny horns on her head. Her tail was wrapped around her body, trying to keep warm. She had a thin blanket around her shoulders. It was full of holes and did nothing to stop the cold. She had no coat. No warm clothes. Nothing to protect her from the freezing night. Daniel stopped walking. He stood there in the middle of the path and looked at her. The dragon girl noticed him watching. She looked up, and he saw her eyes. They were amber-colored, like honey held up to sunlight. Those eyes should have glowed with inner fire. But the glow was faint, almost gone. Like a candle about to go out. She flinched when she saw him. Daniel understood why. Humans had a complicated reputation in this part of space. Some aliens thought humans were kind and helpful. Others thought humans were dangerous and cruel. The girl did not know which kind of human Daniel was. Daniel walked toward her slowly. He did not want to scare her. "Excuse me," he said in a gentle voice. "I am looking for medicine. Medicine that works for humans. Do you have anything like that?" The dragon girl watched him carefully. She did not answer right away. She was trying to decide if he was dangerous or not. Finally, she spoke. Her voice was very quiet and weak. "We had some medicine like that, but we sold it yesterday. It is gone now." Daniel felt his heart sink. He'd been hoping so much to find help here. Lily needed that medicine, but he tried not to show his disappointment on his face. "I see. Thank you anyway." He should have walked away then. He should have kept looking for medicine somewhere else. Every minute he wasted was a minute Lily spent getting sicker, but he could not move. He kept looking at the frost on her scales. He kept looking at the way her small claws held onto that useless blanket. He kept looking at the dying light in her amber eyes. This girl was freezing to death. "Right here, right in front of him. Where's your family?" Daniel asked. The dragon girl's face did not change, but something in her eyes went dark. "Gone," she said simply. "My mother died last winter. My father died before that, when our planet burned." The burning. Everyone in the galaxy knew about the burning. Daniel had seen videos of it on the news. Fire falling from the sky. Cities turning to ash. Children screaming as the world ended around them. This girl had survived all of that. She had lost her father in the worst disaster in galactic history. She had lost her mother to the cold of refugee life. And now she was alone, selling scraps in a frozen market, waiting for death to come for her too. "You are all alone out here?" Daniel asked. "I manage," she said, but she did not manage. Daniel could see the truth clearly. She was dying. Her inner fire was almost out. Maybe she would last the night. Maybe she would not. But without help, she would be dead very soon. Daniel thought about his daughter Lily, sick but alive in their shelter. He thought about the bag on his shoulder. Inside that bag was a spare jacket. A thermal jacket made for cold weather. It was purple, Lily's favorite color. He had packed it just in case Lily needed an extra layer. He thought about his wife, who had died 3 years ago from an illness the doctors could not cure. He remembered what she always used to say. She said that being kind was the most important thing a person could do. She said that kindness was the only thing that really mattered in the end. Daniel made his decision. He started to unzip his bag. Daniel walked through the market for another hour. His feet hurt. His fingers were numb from the cold. But he kept searching. He went from stall to stall, asking everyone if they had medicine that worked for humans. Most of them said no. Some of them did not even understand what he was asking for. Finally, he found what he needed at a small booth near the edge of the market. The seller was a Vothran, a large creature with gray skin and 4 eyes. He had a box of old medicine bottles that he had taken from a crashed ship. Most of it was useless, but Daniel found one bottle that had the right kind of antibiotics. The kind that would help Lily. The Vothra wanted too much money for the medicine. He charged almost twice what it was worth. But Daniel did not argue. He paid the price and took the bottle and started, running back to the shelter. The shelter was a small room in an old building at the edge of the refugee camp. It was not much, just 4 walls and a roof and a heating unit that barely worked. But it was better than sleeping outside in the cold. Lily was lying on a small bed when Daniel came in. Her face was red from the fever. Her blonde hair was wet with sweat. She looked so small and sick. Daniel's heart broke a little every time he saw her like this. "Daddy?" she said weakly. Did you find the medicine? Yes, sweetheart. I found it. Everything is going to be okay now. He gave her the medicine with some water. She swallowed it and made a face because it tasted bad. Then she closed her eyes and tried to sleep. Daniel sat next to her bed and watched her. He held her small hand in his. He could feel her pulse under her skin, fast and uneven from the fever. But the medicine was good. It would work. He had to believe that. He stayed awake all night watching over her. Sometimes she moved and made small sounds. Sometimes she said words that did not make sense. But as the hours passed, the redness in her face started to fade. Her breathing became slower and more even. The fever was breaking dot by morning. Lily was sitting up in bed and asking for breakfast. "I want pancakes," she said. Her voice was still weak, but there was energy in it that had not been there before. "Can we have pancakes, Daddy?" Daniel laughed. It was a tired laugh, but it was real. "We don't have pancakes here, sweetheart. But I can make you some soup. It will be warm and good for you." "Okay," Lily said. She watched him as he went to the small cooking area and started heating up some soup. "Daddy, you look tired. Did you sleep at all?" "Not much. I was worried about you. I'm sorry I got sick." "It's not your fault, Lily. People get sick sometimes. The important thing is that you're getting better now." He brought her the soup and sat down next to her bed again. She ate slowly, taking small bites because her stomach was still sensitive. While she ate, she looked at Daniel with curious eyes. "Daddy, something happened last night, didn't it? You look different. Sad, but also something else." "What happened?" Daniel was always surprised by how much his daughter noticed. She was only 9 years old, but she understood things that many adults missed. She had been like that since she was very small. Her mother used to say that Lily had an old soul. "I met someone at the market," Daniel said. "A young dragon girl named Kyra. She was all alone with no family. It was very cold, and she had no coat. She was freezing." "That's terrible," Lily said. Her eyes went wide with concern. "What did you do?" "I gave her your spare jacket. The purple one." Lily stopped eating. She looked at Daniel for a long moment. He was not sure what she was thinking. That jacket had been her favorite. She had picked it out herself at the store on Earth. She had been so excited when they bought it. The purple one? She said double quotes, "Yes. I'm sorry, Lily. I know you love that jacket. But she needed it more than we did. She might have died without it." Lily was quiet for another moment. Then a smile spread across her face. It was a big smile, bright and warm despite her sickness. "You did the right thing, Daddy. Mom would be proud of you." Daniel felt his throat get tight. He tried to speak but could not find the words. "I'm not upset," Lily continued. "I have another coat. And you said she had nothing. That's not fair. Everyone should have a coat when it's cold." She nodded firmly, like she was deciding something important. "Besides, purple is a pretty color on dragons. I bet it looks nice with her scales." Daniel reached out and hugged his daughter. He held her tight, but not too tight because she was still weak. He could feel tears running down his face, but he did not care. "You are the most wonderful girl in the whole galaxy," he said. "You know that?" "I know," Lily said. She was smiling. "You tell me all the time." They stayed in the shelter for 2 more days while Lily got stronger. The medicine worked well. By the 3rd day, she was walking around and asking when they could go home. Daniel decided it was time to leave Vera 7 and head back to safer space. But before they left, he went back to the market one more time. He wanted to see if Kara was still there. He wanted to make sure she was okay. The Draconeth section of the market was empty. The stalls were closed. The heat lamps were dark. There was no sign of Kyra anywhere. Daniel asked some of the other vendors if they knew what happened to the young dragon girl. Most of them did not know who he was talking about. But one old alien with blue skin remembered her. The little one with the purple coat? The old alien said. She left yesterday. Joined a group of Draconith refugees heading to the inner systems. Said she wanted to find a real home somewhere warm. Daniel smiled when he heard that. She had survived the night. She had found hope. She had moved on to something better. That was all he could have asked for. He went back to the shelter and packed up their things. Then he and Lily walked to the spaceport and got on a ship heading toward Coalition space. As the ship lifted off and the frozen world of VAR-7 grew smaller in the windows, Lily pressed her face against the glass and looked down. "Do you think we'll ever see Kira again?" she asked. "I don't know, sweetheart. The galaxy is very big. Probably not." "That's sad," Lily said. "I would have liked to meet her. I would have liked to tell her that I hope the jacket keeps her warm." Daniel put his arm around his daughter and held her close. "I'm sure it does," he said. "I'm sure it keeps her very warm." The ship jumped to hyperspace, and VAR-7 disappeared from view. Daniel leaned back in his seat and closed his eyes. He thought about Kira, somewhere out there in the vastness of space, wearing a purple jacket and looking for a home. He hoped she found what she was looking for. He hoped she found warmth and safety and people who would take care of her. He hoped the small kindness he had shown her would be enough to help her keep going. In a galaxy full of war and suffering and loss, sometimes a simple coat was enough. Sometimes a moment of compassion could change everything. Daniel did not know it then, but his kindness had planted a seed. That seed would grow over the years. It would grow into something bigger and more beautiful than he could ever imagine. But for now, he just held his daughter and watched the stars fly past the window and was grateful that they were both alive. The dragon girl watched Daniel with careful eyes as he opened his bag. Her body was tense. She was ready to run if she needed to. Living alone in a place like this had taught her to be afraid of strangers, especially strangers who reached into bags when they were standing close to her. Daniel understood her fear. He moved slowly and kept his hands where she could see them. He reached into the bag and pulled out the purple jacket. It was a good jacket, thick and warm, made to keep a person safe even in the worst cold. It had cost a lot of money back on Earth. Daniel had bought it for Lily before they left on this trip. The dragon girl's amber eyes went wide when she saw the jacket. She stared at it like she could not believe it was real. "What are you doing?" she asked. Her voice was still weak, but now there was something else in it. Confusion. Maybe a little bit of fear. "This jacket belonged to my daughter," Daniel said. "She has another one back at our shelter. I want you to have this one." The girl did not move. She did not reach for the jacket. She just kept staring at it with those dying amber eyes. "I cannot pay for that," she said. "I am not asking you to pay. I am giving it to you." Now the fear in her eyes grew stronger. In her world, nothing was free. Everything had a price. When someone gave you something for nothing, it usually meant they wanted something bad in return. "Then what do you want?" she asked. "What do you want from me?" It was a fair question. Daniel had asked himself the same thing. What did he want? He had come here looking for medicine for his daughter. He had not found it. He should be moving on, searching other stalls, doing everything he could to help Lily. Instead, he was standing here in the freezing cold, offering his daughter's jacket to a dying dragon girl he had never met before. Daniel got down on his knees so that he was at her eye level. He held the jacket out toward her like someone offering food to a scared animal. "I want you to live through the night," he said. "That is all I want. Nothing else." The dragon girl looked at his face. She was searching for something there. A lie, a trick, some hidden evil that would explain why a stranger would do something kind. But Daniel had nothing to hide. His face was open and honest and tired. "I do not understand," she said. "You do not know me. We are not the same species. We are not even from the same part of the galaxy. Why would you help me?" Daniel thought about that question. It was a good question. Philosophers and scientists had been asking questions like it for thousands of years. Why do people help strangers? Why do people sacrifice things for others they will never see again? "I am a father," Daniel said. "I have a daughter about your age. When I look at you, I see a child who is cold and scared and alone. I cannot fix all the bad things that have happened to you. I cannot bring back your parents or your home planet. But I can give you this jacket. I can give you one warm night. That is something I can do." He held the jacket a little closer to her. "Please," he said. "Take it. Let me help you." The dragon girl's clawed hand was shaking. Daniel did not know if it was from the cold or from something else. She reached out very slowly, like she expected the jacket to disappear or turn into something terrible. Her fingers touched the fabric. It was soft and thick and warm. She could feel the heat, even through her cold scales. She grabbed the jacket and pulled it to her chest. She held it tight against her body, like it was the most valuable thing in the universe. And maybe, for her, it was. For a moment, Daniel thought she might cry. But the Draconeth did not cry the way humans did. They did not have tears. Instead, something happened to her eyes. The amber light, which had been so faint and weak, grew a little brighter. Just a small change. Just a tiny spark. But it was there. Her inner fire was not dead yet. It had found a reason to keep burning. "My name is Daniel," he said. "What is your name?" She did not answer right away. Names had power. Giving someone your name meant trusting them with a piece of yourself. After everything she had been through, trust was hard for her. But she had his jacket pressed against her heart. She had his kindness warming her frozen body. Maybe she could give him this small thing in return. "Kyra," she whispered. "My name is Kyra. Kyra, that is a beautiful name." Daniel smiled at her. It was a warm smile, full of kindness and sadness at the same time. "Please put on the jacket. You need to get warm." Kyra looked at the jacket in her arms. It was purple, a strange color for her people. Draconeth usually wore red and gold, the colors of fire. But purple was beautiful too. It was the color of the sky just before night came. The color of the last light before darkness. She put on the jacket. It was made for a human child, so it did not fit perfectly on her body. Her wings made bumps in the back of the fabric. Her tail stuck out below the bottom edge. But the jacket was warm. So wonderfully, incredibly warm. Kyra closed her eyes. She could feel the heat spreading through her body. Her inner fire, which had been dying, started to burn a little stronger. She had not felt this warm in months, maybe years. When she opened her eyes again, they were brighter than before. The amber glow was coming back. Why? She asked again. She still did not understand. She might never understand. People do not do things like this. Not in my experience. The galaxy is cold and cruel. Everyone takes what they can and leaves others to die. That is how things work. Daniel stood up. His knees hurt from kneeling on the frozen ground. He was getting old, he thought. Too old for adventures in distant star systems. But he would do it all again, 1,000 times, for his daughter. And apparently, for dragon girls with dying fires in their eyes. "Where I come from," Daniel said, "we have a different way of thinking. We believe that people should take care of each other. Not just family and friends, everyone. Even strangers. Especially strangers." "That is a strange way of thinking," Kyra said. "Maybe, but it is what I believe." And tonight it means you get a warm jacket and a chance to see tomorrow. Kyra looked down at the purple fabric wrapped around her body. She touched it gently with her clawed fingers. She was feeling something she had not felt in a very long time. Hope, small and fragile, like a tiny flame in a strong wind. But it was there. "Thank you," she said. The words came out rough and broken. She had not said thank you to anyone in years. There had been no one to thank. "Thank you, Daniel. I will remember this. I will remember you. For the rest of my life, however long that is, I will remember the human who gave me his daughter's coat." Daniel felt tears forming in his eyes. He blinked them away. There was still work to do. Lily still needed medicine. He could not stand here crying in the cold. "Stay warm, Kira," he said. "Find shelter tonight. Eat something if you can. And do not give up. The galaxy can be cold and cruel, but it can also be kind. Sometimes kindness comes from places you do not expect." He turned and walked away. He did not look back. If he looked back, he might not be able to leave. He might stay and try to help her more, and then Lily would not get her medicine. And everything would fall apart. He walked into the darkness of the market, searching for another stall that might have what he needed. Behind him, Kira sat in her little booth, wrapped in a purple jacket that smelled like human child and warmth and hope. She watched him go until she could not see him anymore. Then she curled up on the ground, pulled the jacket tight around her body, and let its warmth flow into her bones. For the first time in years, she did not feel alone. 10 years passed after that cold night on Verath-7. Daniel and Lily returned to Earth for a few years. Lily went to school and grew taller and smarter every year. She made friends and learned new things and slowly forgot about being sick on that distant frozen planet. But she never forgot about Kyra. Sometimes, when it was cold outside and snow was falling, she would look out the window and wonder if the dragon girl was warm wherever she was. Daniel got older. His hair turned gray at the edges. His face got more lines from smiling and worrying. He worked as a teacher for a while, then decided to do something more meaningful with his life. He became a refugee coordinator for the coalition, helping families who had lost their homes find new places to live. It was good work. Hard work, but good. Every day he met people who had lost everything. Aliens from dozens of different species, all of them scared and tired and looking for hope. Daniel did his best to help them. He found them housing and food and jobs. He helped their children get into schools. He listened to their stories and tried to make their lives a little bit better. Sometimes, late at night when he was alone in his small apartment, Daniel thought about that frozen market on Verath-7. He thought about amber eyes that were almost out of light. He thought about a thin blanket that could not stop the cold. He thought about a purple jacket and the look on Kyra's face when she held it to her chest. He wondered if she was still alive. He hoped she was. He hoped she had found a good life somewhere. The war between the coalition and the hegemony continued during those years. There were battles in distant star systems. Ships exploded in the darkness of space. Planets were burned and cities were destroyed. The news was always full of death and destruction and sadness. But there were good things too. The coalition was winning slowly. More and more planets were being freed from hegemony control. Refugees were finding new homes. Children who had grown up in camps were becoming doctors and teachers and engineers. Lily grew up and went to university. She studied medicine because she wanted to help people who were sick. Daniel was very proud of her. She reminded him so much of her mother, with her kind heart and her determination to make the world better. "I want to work with refugees," Lily told him one day. "I want to help people like the ones you help. People who have nothing and no one. People who just need someone to care about them." Daniel hugged her and told her that was a wonderful dream. He did not mention Kira. He had told Lily the story many times over the years, but he did not want to make everything about the past. Lily had her own future to build. 5 more years passed. 15 years total since that night on VRath-7. Daniel was old now, past 60 years. His hair was completely gray, and his body did not move as fast as it used to. He still worked as a refugee coordinator, but now he mostly did paperwork and trained younger workers. He had an office on a space station orbiting a planet called New Meridian. It was a quiet job, a good place to spend his final working years before retirement. Lily was a doctor now, working at a hospital on Earth. She had gotten married to a nice young man named Kevin, and they were expecting their first child. Daniel was going to be a grandfather. The thought made him smile every time he thought about it. Life was peaceful, simple. Good. Daniel had stopped expecting anything surprising to happen. He had made peace with the idea that his adventures were over. He would finish his career, retire to a small house somewhere warm, and spend his final years reading books and playing with his grandchildren. But the galaxy had other plans. One morning, Daniel arrived at his office and found a message waiting for him. It was from the front desk of the station. "Mr. Carter, someone is here to see you. A Draconith medical officer. She says it's personal. She says she's been looking for you for a long time." Daniel read the message twice. A Draconith looking for him? He did not know any Draconith. He had helped many of them over the years, processed their paperwork, and found them homes. But none of them would come looking for him personally. No, it was impossible. The galaxy was too big. The odds were too small. There was no way. But his hands were shaking as he typed his reply. Send her in. He stood up from his desk. He straightened his shirt and ran a hand through his thin gray hair. His heart was beating fast, faster than it had beaten in years. The door opened. A Draconith female walked into his office. She was tall and strong, with scales that shimmered with healthy inner light. She wore the white uniform of a coalition medical officer. Her amber eyes glowed bright and warm, full of fire and life. She was beautiful, powerful, confident, everything a Draconith should be. Daniel did not recognize her at first. How could he? The last time he had seen her, she was a dying child huddled under a broken blanket. Now she was a grown woman who had clearly lived a full and successful life. But then he saw what she was holding in her hands. It was a jacket. A purple jacket, faded and worn from years of use. There were patches on it where the fabric had been repaired. The zipper was different from the original, replaced at some point. But Daniel recognized it immediately. It was Lily's jacket. The jacket he had given away 15 years ago on a frozen night in a distant market. The Draconith woman looked at him with those glowing amber eyes. When she spoke, her voice was strong and clear. Nothing like the weak whisper he remembered. "Mr. Carter? Daniel Carter?" Daniel could not speak. His throat was too tight. He nodded. The woman smiled. It was strange to see a dragon smile, but somehow it looked natural on her face. "My name is Kyra," she said. 15 years ago, on the planet Varath-7, you gave me this jacket. You saved my life." She stepped forward and placed the purple jacket on his desk. "I've been looking for you ever since." Daniel stared at the purple jacket on his desk. His eyes were blurry with tears. He looked up at Kyra, this tall and powerful dragon woman who had once been a dying child in a frozen market. "You're alive," he whispered. "You survived." "I survived," Kyra said. "Because of you. Because of what you did that night." She pulled out a chair and sat down across from his desk. Her movements were graceful and confident. This was not the scared, shivering girl he remembered. This was someone who had rebuilt herself from nothing and become something wonderful. "After you left," Kyra said, "I put on the jacket and found a warm corner to sleep in. It was the first time in months that I did not wake up shivering. The next morning, I decided something. I decided that I wanted to live. Really live, not just survive from day to day. I wanted to do something with my life. Daniel wiped his eyes and sat down slowly. His legs were not steady enough to hold him anymore. "What did you do?" he asked. "I joined a group of refugees heading to the inner systems. The journey was hard. Many times I thought I would die. But every time I felt like giving up, I looked at the jacket. Your daughter's jacket. And I remembered that somewhere in the galaxy, there was a human who cared enough about a stranger to give away something precious. If humans could be that kind, then maybe the galaxy was not as cold as I thought." She paused and took a deep breath. Even for a strong woman like her, telling this story was not easy. "I made it to Coalition space. I found a refugee camp that had a school. I studied hard, harder than anyone else. I wanted to become a doctor. I wanted to save lives the way you saved mine. It took many years, but I did it. I graduated from medical school with the highest marks in my class." Daniel shook his head in amazement. "That's incredible. I had no idea. How could you know? We only met once for a few minutes on a frozen night. You probably thought you would never see me again." Kyra smiled. "But I never forgot you. I carried this jacket with me everywhere I went. To school, to work, to every planet and every station where I served as a doctor. It reminded me of what kindness looks like. It reminded me of what I was working toward." She reached across the desk and touched the faded purple fabric. "I have treated thousands of patients over the years," she said. "Draconith, humans, and dozens of other species. I have trained young doctors and taught them how to heal. And every single one of them knows this story. Every one of them knows about the human father who gave a dying dragon girl his daughter's coat." Daniel could not hold back his tears anymore. They ran down his face, and he did not try to stop them. He was not sad. He was overwhelmed by something much bigger than sadness. "I don't know what to say," he managed. "You don't have to say anything." Kyra's amber eyes were glowing bright, full of warmth and gratitude. "I came here to say thank you, and to tell you what your kindness became. One small act of compassion, Daniel. One jacket, given freely to a stranger. And look what it grew into." She stood up and walked around the desk. Daniel stood up too, though his legs were still shaky. Kira extended her clawed hand, and he took it. Her grip was warm and strong. "You taught me something important that night," she said. "You taught me that the galaxy is not cold, that there is warmth everywhere if you know where to look. I have spent my whole life trying to pass that lesson on to others." Daniel thought about all the years since that night, all the refugees he had helped, all the families he had found homes for, all the small kindnesses he had shown to strangers because it was the right thing to do. He had never expected any of it to come back to him. He had never expected to see results like this. "I was just trying to help," he said. "I saw a child in need, and I did what I could. That's all? That's all?" Kira laughed. It was a warm sound, like crackling fire. "Daniel, you changed the course of my entire life. Every person I have healed, every doctor I have trained, every life that has been saved because of my work, it all goes back to that moment, to that jacket, to you." She released his hand and stepped back. "I am not here to repay a debt," she said. "Kindness is not a debt. It is a gift that keeps growing. But I wanted you to know that your gift did not disappear. It spread. It multiplied. It touched more lives than you can possibly imagine." Daniel looked at the jacket on his desk. He thought about Lily, who was about to become a mother herself. He thought about his wife, who had taught him that kindness was the only legacy worth leaving. He thought about all the people, human and alien, who had shown him kindness over the years. He picked up the jacket and held it in his hands. It was so light, so simple. Just fabric and zippers and buttons. But it had carried so much meaning across so many years. "I want you to keep it," he said. He held the jacket out to Kira. "It was never really mine. It was always meant to be yours." Kira looked at the jacket for a long moment. Then she shook her head. "No, I have carried it long enough. Now it is time for it to go home." She pushed his hands gently back toward his chest. "Give it to your daughter. Tell her the story. Tell her what her jacket became. And when she has children of her own, she can tell them too." Daniel held the jacket against his heart. He could feel the warmth of it, even though it was just old fabric. The warmth of memories. The warmth of connection across time and space. "Thank you, Kira," he said. "Thank you for finding me. Thank you for telling me all of this." "Thank you for saving my life," she replied. "Thank you for teaching me that humans are worth believing in." They stood there in the quiet office, a human and a dragon, connected by a purple jacket and a cold night and a simple act of kindness that had changed everything. Later that day, Daniel called Lily and told her the whole story. She cried when she heard it. She said she wanted to meet Kira. Daniel promised to arrange it. A month later, Lily came to the station with her husband Kevin. Her belly was round with the baby that was coming soon. Kira was there too, waiting to meet the human girl whose jacket she had worn for 15 years. When Lily and Kira saw each other, they did not shake hands. They hugged like old friends who had been apart too long. Lily was crying. Kira's eyes were glowing brighter than Daniel had ever seen them. "Thank you," Kira said to Lily. "Thank you for the jacket. Thank you for sharing your father with me. Thank you for keeping the warmth going," Lily replied. "Thank you for proving that kindness matters." Daniel watched them and smiled. His wife had been right all those years ago. Kindness was the only legacy worth leaving. And his kindness had spread further than he ever dreamed possible. The galaxy was vast and cold and full of darkness. But there was warmth in it too. Small fires of compassion that could light up the darkness. All it took was one person willing to share their coat with a stranger. Daniel had done that once on a frozen night. And now, looking at his daughter and the dragon woman she was hugging, he knew that his small fire had become a blaze that would never go out. This was what humans could do. This was why they mattered. Not because of their technology or their strength or their numbers, but because of their stubborn, impossible belief that kindness was worth giving, even when it cost them something, even when they would never see the results. Kira looked at Daniel over Lily's shoulder. Her amber eyes were full of light. "This is what humanity means," she said. "This is why the galaxy needs you." Daniel nodded. He understood, and he was proud, so proud, to be human.